So, MCToon, I want to ask you before I ask Jared over there, what is your personal line for having these type of discussions with people? Like, is there any certain thing that somebody would do that would make you be like, "That's it, I'm done"? There's no more discussion to be had. Like, I'm just wondering what your personal line is.
When they get really offensive, the way Why You Are an Idiot was talking to some of the women on the Discord server was very disgusting. And that's just, there's one thing to say, to have a disagreement on how, what you think the earth is like or whatever, science. But to treat people like that, that's just not right. And I have a screenshot of what he was saying, and it's pretty rotten.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't really surprise me.
No, it doesn't surprise me either. I mean, both of these two recent wonderful golden nuggets of comedic value have severe sensitivity issues. And I don't mean that in the sense that I don't want to let that be seen as a way that, they need to go to sensitivity training or they're out of whack or anything like that. Well, they are, but you can still be a masculine male, man, red-blooded American, and not be a complete asshat like these guys are. My wife and I are, a lot of people, if they looked from the outside, would say we lean conservative when it comes to a lot of the family values type stuff. But at the same time, you do you. I have no problem with people of alternate lifestyles because guess what? It doesn't involve me, so why should I give a fuck? Mm-hmm. But then you have people like these guys who see something, they don't agree with it, it doesn't fit their value system that they hypocritically hold themselves to, and then they get angry because of what someone else is doing that has zero bearing on themselves. How does that work?
I don't know. But what's your personal line there, Jared?
There's really two of them, and these guys seem to keep flirting with both of them. One is the overt violent tendencies, either verbally or expressed desire for physical violence needlessly. To me, that's a conversation ender because it shows you don't have the emotional maturity to keep the conversation going and actually be civil with someone you don't agree with. That's one of them. The other one is when you have someone like Skidmark, the person otherwise known as Spurkismo, who is so horrendously intellectually dishonest. That is another no-go for me, because if I have a decent enough bullshit filter that if you continually try to go that route, I'm just going to start ripping you apart for it. And my level of interaction with you at that point really comes down to one thing, and that's how much do I want to laugh at your dumbass today? Most days it's none, so I won't even bother interacting with you. But then there are other days where I'm like, kind of bored, kind of want to see a monkey dance. What fuck nuggets are online right now? Which ones can I poke?
I don't know. Yeah, I think a lot of it is just to make them say something stupid so that nobody else falls into their crap.
Well, and that's really where I began with this, 5 years ago, where I first heard about the flat earth stuff. Is like, wait a minute, you're saying this? Hang on, let me look at what okay, you're wrong here, and here. And that's where I did come into it from a lot of the open debates side of things, where they would be spewing this stuff and I would just start asking them questions. Oh, well, you're saying this. Well, what about here? You're saying this, but do you not realize that this part doesn't work? And I would just start with that questioning type, very subtle, give them rope, let them hang themselves with it, and then show them where their fundamental misunderstandings are. And a lot of them really started to hate me for it because they couldn't pull it on me. They could not pull the wool over my eyes because, well, sorry guys, I've been a curious motherfucker when it comes to a lot of shit for as long as I can remember. And first it was directed towards religion, and when I realized just how circular and bullshit those arguments were, I put my energy into scientific endeavors, which is why I'm an engineer. I have fun solving those types of problems and trying to better my understanding of the actual physics of the world and universe around us. I have a EE electrical engineering degree, so I have a base understanding of physics, and I'm back in school now for a degree dedicated just in particle applied physics, because the way the interactions work and the way they're counterintuitive, but we still understand them enough to know how they ultimately end up playing out, to me, is phenomenal and outstanding. Plus, the more complex the math problem you put in front of me, the more I actually enjoy it, because it's like, okay, this is a puzzle. It's a very rational, logical problem in front of me that a lot of people will look at, not understand a goddamn fucking Greek letter on there, and be like, fuck it, I'm out. Where I'm the type, I see that and I dig in.
There's too many letters.
There was a throwback.
When did math have letters?
There was a throwback YouTuber who said some really off-the-wall shit and ended up getting his channel taken away from him. But my favorite quote from him was, "That ain't math. That's got letters and shit in it." And for those who don't know who said that, that was the wonderful political hillbilly.
So,
yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, first thing I was going to ask is, Jared, for your EE degree, did you have like 3 levels of physics that you went through? Because I know I started out as an EE major, but then switched to computer engineering. And I actually went through 3 levels of physics before I got to my actual thing, which the physics 3 for me was like general relativity stuff.
So on mine, we started with essentially basic Newtonian for physics 1. Physics 2, we ended up going more into the in-depth quantum physics type stuff and those interactions. And physics 3, again, it really went heavy into the Einsteinian explanations of everything, and it really was the best way to go about it and understand it from just that base level of it, because like Fight the Flat Earth is going to have an interview coming up here in a couple weeks with George Musser, where they really go into the explaining of the article where Anthony Riley decided to quote mine the whole Einstein broke the wand of Newton. And of course, a lot of people on the flirt side of it try to see it as, well, that means Einstein completely replaced Newton and his explanation of shit, so it's not even relevant anymore. That's not accurate, because you can attest to this. When you start an engineering degree and you're going through just intro to engineering analysis, you start out with all your base calculations based on Newtonian physics, correct?
He's talking to somebody else, but I also studied electrical engineering and computer science. So
sorry, I was talking to Casey about how apparently both MCToon and I are trannies, apparently.
Yeah, I saw that.
Sorry, that's his word. Transgendered. Sorry, I was focused on what he said.
But it's so with the whole Newtonian physics versus Einsteinian physics and the whole breaking of the wand. From an engineering standpoint, especially mechanical and electrical engineering, we start with the Newtonian understanding of it because it works at a very base, high-level understanding and initial analysis of what's going on, especially with mechanical engineering. And the whole thing with Newton was he recognized the interaction, but he could not postulate, or he could not wrap his head around the actual mechanism that was causing the interaction he was seeing. So he had the actual high view of, hey, this interaction is happening. I don't know exactly why, but here's a quantitative evaluation of what is taking place. And then go through time, more progress being made. We get to Einstein, and with his special and general relativity, it still starts from the Newtonian foundation, but it explains the mechanism of why we are seeing these interactions. So they really do build off each other. So it's not that it replaced it, it enhanced it and fine-tuned it that much more. So you can still use a Newtonian physics base as your starting point for a lot of the explanations and analysis from an engineering and high into the higher physics standpoint. It's a great starting point, but there are gaps, there are holes, and that's where relativity comes in, and you actually get that more fine-tuned understanding of the mechanism, which then leads to the higher value things.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I always, always see, there's Newtonian physics, and then you can extend that to include all the other ones. But Newtonian physics is like a very good foundation, I guess, for understanding everything else.
Yeah.
But so I was also going to ask, are there any certain topics that you guys would say is like off limits? Because I know, like, just for instance, one of the topics that I know a lot of us have that's kind of an off limits thing is like doubting the shuttle explosions and disasters. Is there anything like similar to that you guys just won't allow?
Yeah, I'd go with that, because people died, and it's not even a question. There's no question that those are not. It's not true. It's the person's. They're claiming that this guy's brother is this guy, and that this lady who one was a teacher and another was worked in a whole different field, that just because they have similar names, like, that's disgusting. And it's super easy to actually look at it. And we know that flat earthers are research phobic. And so, we know they're not even going to look into it. They're going to watch a video and just take it all as truth. So, then to repeat it, somebody else hears it and they believe it. And it's just sick. So, yeah, I won't take that. The hoaxers, where they think that all of the, everything is instantly set up, and they're actors and all that, like the New Zealand shooting and all that. Like, they didn't look at anything; they just assumed right away. Like, and then they think that they're somehow more, they have a higher level of evidence that they require, when in fact it's the opposite. They've just reversed it all. They insist on having no evidence for what they want to conclude, and all the evidence that is not what they want, they just say, I don't like it. It's because of who it came from or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, and for me, I don't really run into those topics so much, but I would agree that unless they can actually, staying away from defaming the individual victims involved, if they can try to substantiate the claim of it being a hoax, that would be one thing, but they generally can't. And so my more topic non grata when it comes to all this really is the religious aspect of it, simply because anytime they try to say, oh, well, the Bible says this, and it's like, yes, but the Bible also attributed all pestilence and disease to some imaginary friend in the sky. So are you trying to say that the medical sciences are wrong because it's not in the Bible? And once you get them to start poking holes in that way, it does serve as a good deterrent for them to stop using that, at least in that conversation, as the foundation for what they